part of the legislation that came to effect a couple of years ago. If it's not a phrase you've heard of before, or it may be familiar to you, but you don't know the depth of information that you would like to know about it, let me tell you, that is a problem for you. It is possibly and potentially the most punitive part of the new regulations that came into effect. If you do not react to a maintenance issue within a rental property within a reasonable timeline, the tenant can receive all the rent money that they paid to you already for the time it has unreasonably taken to address that maintenance issue. Financially, that could be punitive. When you're now thinking of increasing the rent, it is imperative that you use now the right form. It's not enough to say what you're going to do verbally or indeed in writing on an email. There is a form, RHW12, that you'll see on the Rent Smart Wales website. Any increase you make will be seen as an illegal increase and people can take you to court over it. That is the form that you use for a variation in rent. If you're doing it yourself, make sure you go to the site. Otherwise, any increase will be invalid and they could claim compensation from previously paid rent as well. When a property is vacant and a new tenant is actually going to move in, we do a pre-move-in check on that property. It's about things like ensuring the smoke detectors work. It's about ensuring that the boiler actually works. It's about ensuring that there is no obvious leakages at the property. It's almost like an MOT on the rental property. 60% of all calls by tenants are likely to happen within the first week of the tenancy. So this check sorts the matter out at source. It may not be the most interesting subject on your agenda, but it's really, really important. 70% of all fraud in the UK today is property fraud, and fraudulent applications for tenancies have increased by 30% since 2023. We've now invested in a state-of-the-art tenancy referencing process, which uses AI technology to ensure that the tenant we find for you has to clear a far higher bar than ever before. We will have access to actual real-time bank accounts and also to ensure the evidence they provide for us is absolutely genuine. I've come across recently a couple of cases where landlords have been with other agencies whereby at the end of a tenancy, the landlords have felt unhappy about the state of the property, the way it was left by the tenant, and that the deposit has actually been paid back in full to the tenant. You as a landlord can make sure that the tenant has left the property in first-class condition, and you need to give your written consent for the deposit to be returned. To find out that a deposit has been returned without your written consent is not lawful.